Good evening, everyone. So today, my agenda of discussion is share the glimpse of industry experience. And this session is primarily focusing on the folks who are recently joined industry or those folks who are about to join the industry. So, I mean, most of the questions I am catering for those people in focus, but it is as equivalently relevant to other folks also who are having experience of industry. And whatever the suggestion and feedback and the solution you want to share, please share in feedback, in YouTube video feedback, or even you can share on LinkedIn so that I can improve those parts. If I want to add, I can add, and if I can add or modify it, probably it will be helpful for many person for within our community, developer community, or the community who are following this channel. Okay, so please focus to give the improvement if you feel some improvement is required, and if you feel that, and also please like and subscribe the channel so that you will receive and it will reach to the maximum people. That is what the community purpose will be fulfilled with this, sharing things, right? So let's go by question one by one. So the first question is, putting more hours on work is better, or balancing out hours on work on improvement to optimize efficiency would be better? Let me repeat the question. Many times manager have confusion, lots of confusion, that some X person is not putting sufficient hours because they are comparing to every member. Like if somebody is putting 10 hours and other putting only 8 hours, they quickly just create their own opinion for that. Okay, he is hardworking, he is not hardworking, he is not taking care seriously to their role or their task. Now, is it a right way to judge? That's the question. And I am pretty sure that most of the experienced people can see and can relate this kind of behavior in their company or their in this industry. Now, let me share my opinion. What I believe that if some engineer is putting what is expected for their task, let's take one example. Suppose your office hour is 8 hours daily, just as an example. Then one member who is putting 10 hours in office, and another person who are putting 6 hours or 8 hours in office and putting 4 hours in their home for their skill improvement. Both person is doing hard work, but it's my experience maybe, but I have seen that the person who is skilling up, who is improving their skills day by day, that person is more valuable for the company rather than who is putting 10 hours, 12 hours in office. The supervisor or manager should have keen eye on those engineers who are putting every day 10, 12 hours. Why they are putting? Why he is not improving? What kind of task he is doing? What kind of a skill set they required? And why this task is not getting optimized, right, with the time? Because as you grow in experience, as you grow in your skill set, your time required for executing that task should be minimized. So effectively, the person who is skilling up by putting extra hour in their skill improvement, they are more beneficial for the organization. They are setting the right culture also. And so management team should look it with that perspective. Don't count the hours. Don't count office hours. Don't put your members for office hours. That would not serve your purpose. So my suggestion here is the person who are balancing out their number of hours daily on task as well as personal improvement, skilling up, that person is more valuable to any organization, irrespective of what kind of work he's doing. So please understand this concept very openly, fairly. Don't count the hours. Hours will not make any difference at all. The second question, sharing command or less experience is good or bad? Sharing command to less experience is good or bad? I have seen that there are different kind of culture in the company. Some people as a management layer feel that I am giving chance to the fresh blood who are showing the more energy. I don't find any specific reason to not give them. But then it is also the responsibility of that person who are giving or creating such kind of structure in their company. He has personal role to monitor this very keenly. Many times premature or who are not matured enough, they are actually creating a bad culture, bad working culture, bad team structure, they are actually irritating. I mean, they are just wiping out the good culture of the company by their own, because they don't have understanding, right? They don't have understanding of structure. They don't have understanding because they don't have experience of how to execute the task. They don't have experience how to behave, because somehow there is a saying, right? The small knowledge is creating sometime problem. If you have a good set of knowledge, if you have a vast knowledge, you might be quiet, because those knowledge is giving you uh, politeness, right? But if you have a little knowledge, then in that case, and you get some command kind of role, then you start behaving like rubbish, right? And I have seen in my experience, in my 20 year of experience, I have seen so many cases like that, who is completely washing out the culture. Management has to look around those kind of peoples. Giving opportunity to someone is not a bad idea, but monitoring keenly during their initial phase is very much required. Otherwise, you are, I mean, I mean, I mean promoting wrong culture in your company. So it is dangerous for you in the long run, not for you. It is eventually dangerous for that company. So please take care of these things. Are you really working for company or working against the company? So many times I have seen that many people is believing that he's not giving space to their member. He is just trying to hold every member every time. I mean, micromanagement kind of culture, right? You are managing everything very minutely. That is also a very, very dangerous feature, dangerous culture. And I have seen in my experience that when you start doing the micromanagement, you are some company, I don't know, by default their culture is something like that. They are, I mean, everybody who is part of that structure, they eventually become of a micromanagement kind, because that culture is driven for top management. And if so, then eventually you are not working for the company by doing this micromanagement. In fact, you are working against the company. See, good days or bad days is part of every life, every every 20 year of journey. Either you are a developer, you are a company, you are an entrepreneur, you are a CEO, or anybody in the world. Everybody have their own cycles, and everybody has up and down time. So, and micromanagement is actually you are invading those privacy which are not required for you even. So it, in a nutshell, you are what you are doing here, that you are irritating, creating wrong culture, and then eventually that person will fly from your company, and that is what eventually happened, right? And don't bother like this recession and those things. This will be a partial thing, and this is the kind of up and down. This is also a recession is also similar kind of things, right? It is not big deal. Please understand it. After 6 months, my word, after 6 months, you will see every company is again looking for hiring, recruiting, and those kind of things. So the trend you are seeing currently, it is a very temporarily in nature, and please understand that there is a good culture required in every, always, every time you need some good culture in your organization. If you are not doing it, be it higher management or middle management, where you are, doesn't matter. You are actually polluting the company culture, and eventually you will, actually putting your company's culture and company in very, very deep danger. So mind your task, mind your, monitoring. It doesn't require micromanagement. If somebody is mature enough, don't do the micromanagement. It won't help you. Anyway, so next question is, what should be your learning curve as you grow in experience? So this is fundamentally from my learning experience. I'm going to share. Everybody has their own opinion. They can share and they can understand it that way. But my perspective here is, when you join the company, any organization in industry, the first 5 years, you should always focus on programming. Maximum, like any problem, how to implement it. Given a problem, how you will implement the best possible way. Now, best possible way means it is not only the implementation. It might be how you are designing things. What are the things you are following, right? What are the key attributes you considering? Like whenever you are writing any code, are you focusing on unit test? Are you following the approach which is called test-driven development? Are you following the approach where you will be following best practices, industry best practices, language best practices, or right, these kind of things, right? Best practices from the language, best practices from the industry, best practices from particular domain. So these things are primarily should be focused. So when you are as an implementer, you mostly focus on implementation part, but you consider to understand all the complete workflow, complete flow of your development cycle. Testing, designing, architecture, where architect will do what designer I mean, what the design team is doing as per the instruction of architect, how you are identifying the testing area, how you are identifying the performance area, how you will manage the performance throughout the product development, I mean, throughout the software development. So all these things, right? Then are your code is actually helping to maintain in future, right? Like, are your uh, code is sufficiently documented so that anybody will join the team and they can easily understand the complete code structure quickly, and they can start contributing in your code. So all these things are have a meaningful contribution, and if you focus on these area in first 5 year, would be really really beneficial for you. But apart from that, you should regularly focus on problem solving by using following any sites as per the public forum. There are so many problem solving sites, so you have to follow regularly, because that is the improvement you eventually put in your work. If you are improving daily in problem solving, that skills will add the fuel into your progress in work within the company. So that would be very helpful for you. Please focus it. Going 5 to 10 year, your focus mostly on object oriented design. If you are working on that set of language, then object oriented design is now the first priority. Second priority is your implementation, right? Architecting and other aspects, you definitely have get the, I mean, involved in that sense, but you're supposed not to be owner of architecture. That is somebody else's work who is senior to you. But development, implementation, and before implementation, object oriented design, that is primarily your goal. And here your responsibility is also to how to write your code which would be maintainable, which will be scalable, which will be extendable. So these kind of compliance, which is the best practices compliance, you have to focus on this, because this is the area where you can mentor your juniors to integrate and help you in development process, right? So that's why your focus should be on design majorly, but same time implementation. And in that time, you should always improve on design skills. How you will improve it? So in my opinion, like, designing is little bit which you can't get by any problem solving anywhere in the world. It only you will get experience by following some good practices, by following some good design code. Maybe you can follow some open source. Maybe GitHub is the source where you can find lot many open source. You should follow, especially follow some big brand company open source, especially Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, any like good brand, Samsung, any company like that. If you they have some, like Samsung had Tizen platform, other person have other platform, other things. So like Google have Android platform. You should always think about those open source, see their code. If you find some best practices, adopt it, learn it and adopt it. So by that way only you can learn things. Most of us have somewhere we are dropping if we are not following these kind of structure in there. I mean, when we grow in experience, then somehow after some time you become you become little restless in your skill set. You start feeling that you are losing your skill set, and which is not good for experienced people. So that's why my suggestion is always focus. And beyond that 10 year, then you have to more focus on architecture, domain kind of things, overall culture of overall development cycles, like how to develop things, how to commercialize things, how to maintain things, how to get the customer feedback, how to provide the customer support, right? So all these aspects you start looking after 10 years, 10 to 12 years. After that, you should start focusing on those areas. But I'm telling you, please focus on problem solution solving and design, these two as a weekend task. Every weekend you should always focus as much as possible. You should integrate yourself in this culture, that 5 days for work, evening or night, as well as weekend, for your improvement in terms of architecture, in terms of problem solving, in terms of design, in terms of like open source, all these things. Then in terms of how, like, your soft skills, like leadership skills, focus on these things, because these will add value in you. And eventually, if you are improving on those areas, it will get reflected in your work area also, right? So please focus on long-term vision, not a short-term vision, right? That is what my answer here, shortened. Okay, so this is, I believe, the last question, and this question is primarily I have put here. So this question is, being a member of development team, how to balance out the different key attributes of product development, like TDD, architecture design, development and maintenance, code refactoring, and roadmap. So it primarily, I mean, there is no straightforward answer to this question. It is primarily depends on what is your experience. Accordingly, you will focus. If you are a less experience, then you should focus TDD, implementation, design, right? Those things. If you are a like middle level of experience, or like higher side of experience, then you have to focus more on architecture and design, then development maintenance, then code refactoring. Code refactoring is primarily driven from technical depth. So if you are experienced people, you can quickly relate to it. Like you have seen that in architecture discussion, we always discuss about the technical depth. If is there like within the certain period of your product cycle, after a certain time, you will start seeing lot many technical depth is appearing in your product. And then your discussion would start from that direction, that how you will solve, what would be your timeline to solve your technical depth, what should be the code refactoring requirement, are you really looking for, like those kind of things. Sometimes anti-pattern is the concept which also comes here. So those folks who are in architecture or design, they can quickly relate these things. So then when you become a 20, I mean 18, 20 year and more than that, then you should always focus on roadmaps, technological roadmaps. Those roadmaps primarily focusing on technology stacks. Or this domain is moving towards some other technology stack, some better technology stack. What should, because usually what is happening in a big brand company or product company, it started from little early, right? So, but at that time, whatever the technology stack was best, they have chosen. But after 5 years, that technology stack become irrelevant now. As per industry, new tech stacks came into picture and they are more better. Now your role is to look these kind of things in your field, so that you can suggest better option to your product or to your management. If you are in management, then you can take some decision on it, right? So these kind of things you should focus going forward when you have 18 plus 20 plus year of experience. So these are the short questions, I mean short answer to this question. If you have any query, further query related to these questions, please ask me. I will be happy to answer any query related to these things. And it is also giving me two-way learning. Like if you have some query, I might think on it. It will improve my knowledge also. And if I can able to help any query answer to you, it gives you some insight to you also, I believe. So that way we both can teach ourselves and we will learn with this kind of exercise. So by this much, I'm wrapping today's video on here only, and I'm hoping your feedback, comment, like, subscribe. So all these things you should do. If you like it, share your friends so that they can also get some benefit from these kind of videos. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Keep watching, keep improving. Bye. Take care.